Hey gamers, been a while since my last video, and guess what? We are downstairs again in the game room, and I keep telling everybody and myself that I'm not buying any more arcade games, but then the deals just keep on coming, and I've bought two more since the last video. This hobby is more addictive than crack, let me tell you. So I kind of had to rearrange my game room a little bit, just to make space down here. So for now, I kind of got this dual row thing happening. Here's my first row. I got the drivers, the Neo, Centipede, and the two Nintendos down there at the end. And behind here, I have, yes, another row, kind of back to back. This one is going to be my Midway row that I'm working on. You'll see I still have an empty space here. That is for my second game that I bought that is coming up in a later video. I'm working on that right now. The one I'm going to show you today is called Space Zap, and this is a really old school game put out by Midway in 1980. Actually, it's put out by Game-A-Tron, I should say, licensed to Midway in 1980. And the reason I'm calling it old school is because there's a black and white monitor in this game, and it uses a color overlay. Now, if you've played the game in MAME, or if you've seen a couple of YouTube videos that are out there on this game, you'll notice they're in color. To the best of my knowledge, this game actually does, the PCB actually does output color, but for whatever reason, Midway decided to skip the color monitor, put a black and white in there with an overlay. My best guess is to cut down on cost. Remember, this is 1980, so color monitors were kind of a brand new thing back then. I imagine they were probably expensive. So, but I've heard you can upgrade this to a color game by using a RGB card from a Midway card rack system, which is what this game has, and a color monitor. But I actually like it with this black and white monitor and the overlay. It's just got its own unique mix of colors this way, and it adds a pretty good charm to the game, in my opinion. This is actually one of 4 known Space Zap cabinets. This is the most common upright one that I know of. It's got this really neat side art on it. It's got this really cool etched glass, which I didn't even notice was etched until I brought this one home. It's the marquee, instead of being up here, is in the middle of the game, and instead of a fluorescent bulb, it's got these 5 flasher bulbs behind it that just flash at random patterns. There's actually no pattern; they flash at random. So it's a really neat effect to the game, and the control panel is also really unique. It instead of having a joystick, it's just got these large aim and fire buttons, and normally you'd expect to see the fire button on this side and the joystick over here. This is kind of the reverse of that. The aim buttons are over here, so at first glance you might think that throws you off, but I've been playing this game and it really doesn't. It's really easy to get used to the control panel set up like this. Now, like I said, this is one of 4 Midway cabinets, or actually one of 4 Space Zap cabinets. And it's not that big. This could almost pass as a cabaret. But believe it or not, there is a cabaret out there that I think it has a 13-inch monitor that's smaller than this one. There's also a cocktail version and a Game-A-Tron dedicated version, which I understand is pretty rare, and it's in a Space Invaders type cabinet. Out of all the pictures I've seen, I actually think I've got the best looking one. That's just my opinion. So just thought I would share that with you. Now, I had never even heard of this game until about a month or 2 ago. One had popped up in an auction in St. Louis. It was a Tuesday night auction. This particular one did not come from that auction. But for some reason, they had a bunch of late 70s, early 80s black and white games like this, and this was one of them. And it was completely dead, so I never even heard. I didn't even know if the game was any good. But I mean, the cabinet alone really caught my attention. Anyway, I ended up not picking up a game there, but a couple of weeks later, on the other side of the state in Kansas City, this one had popped up on Craigslist. It was fully working. It was cheap. I was able to talk the guy down even further than his already decent asking price. So that was the deal. I couldn't pass up on it. I brought it home. And it's in pretty good shape. I wouldn't call it a showroom piece, but it's pretty close to it. The things I mainly had to do to it were I had wear on the control panel. If you're not familiar with Space Zap, it's basically a bare metal control panel, and the paint was all worn off and had some rust spots to it. So we sanded that down and I painted it. Put about 6 or 7 coats of hammered paint on it for good measure. Did the same thing with the coin door. It had a lot of duct tape residue on it. I added coin lamps to the door for some reason. They were missing, or I think Midway didn't even include them in early runs of games like this. There is a plug in the middle of the door. From my understanding, Midway released a feature to operators to have the game set on free play, basically by adding a red button, I think it says press me on it, to the coin door here in the middle. To add credits. So if anybody knows what I'm talking about, or if you have that button and you want to sell it for a reasonable price, certainly hit me up. I'm very interested in that. Now, one more thing I did to the cabinet, which a lot of you might be asking, why did you do it? I added these LED blacklight strips on both sides of the cabinet here. Why I did this? Well, look at the bezel. Underneath the blacklight, it just puts out this really awesome glow. It was by freak accident that I found this out, and I immediately began thinking that this game is absolutely naked without these black lights. If you happen to own a Space Zap, pick these up. You'll be glad you did. I got these for $10 for the pair on eBay. The wires are kind of cheap and flimsy. I mean, they are cheap kind of Chinese lights, so I had a little trouble there. But I finally got them wired up. Just wired them up to a 6-volt source in the cab and plugged them in, and it just makes the bezel look awesome. And when you have this mirror up here, it really adds to the effect of the game. So that's why I added that. But anyway, enough about the cabinet. Let me get some kind of tripod set up and we'll go over the gameplay. Okay, now before I start a game, I want to show you the basic layout of the game. At first glance, it looks like a space shooting game, and it is, but it's actually classified as a game of skill and reflexes. It's a lot like Simon, and let me explain. Basically, you see this base that just exploded. That's you. That's what you control. Now, you have these 4 aim buttons on the control panel here, and your fire button. And on the 4 corners of the screen, or I actually should say the top, bottom, left, and right, these alien ships will appear on these 4 sides of the screen at random, and occasionally they'll throw fireballs at you. Actually, they're called space mines, and the object of the game is to shoot everything down, shoot down the space mines, shoot down the alien ships. Occasionally also an alien satellite will fly around and you have to shoot it down in time before it attacks your base. If anything touches your base, like a space mine or an attack satellite, you lose the base. The game starts off slow, but just like Satan's Hollow, which I reviewed last year, it's very fast-paced. It picks up speed very quickly. It starts getting really intense. So you have to be very fast and have very good reflexes to be good at the game. You do get a bonus base every 75,000 points, so if you are good at the game, you can keep playing on and on and on. As far as I know, the game has no end. The corners of the screen have all your information, your current score. It has the top 3 high scores, which unfortunately it does not save. Once you turn the power off, you lose those scores. The number of bases you have remaining, and the number of credits stored in the game. Okay, so there is Space Zap. You'll notice I have an empty space sitting between that and Tron. Well, that is for my next game. I'm working on it right now. Some of you probably already even know what it is. The rest of you will just have to wait until the next video comes out. Thanks for watching. Happy gaming.